She had everything she needed to become an Olympic champion, but first, she needed to quit. In 2026, Alysa Liu became the first American woman to earn an individual figure skating gold medal at the Olympics in 24 years. To grasp what attitude Alysa embodied at the 2026 Milan Olympics, one must understand where she had been before. She was 16 years old when she placed sixth at the 2022 Beijing Olympics and had already won 3 consecutive US national championships. She had the technical arsenal to compete at the highest level for another decade, and she walked away. I was done a year before I quit. I knew I wanted to be done way before I actually announced my retirement, she later admitted. She enrolled at the University of California, Los Angeles as a psychology student. She spent time with friends, she traveled a lot. She did all the things that normal teenagers do, and that competitive figure skaters are routinely denied because of their tight schedules. Looking back, she described her pre-retirement rhythm as going to the ring, going home, competing. There were many times when I didn't enjoy it. Figure skating had become a set of blind obligations she had never consciously chosen. I was lacking experience in other things in the world. All I knew was skating, and I just wanted to live my life, I guess. She was craving experiences beyond the borders of the ice rink. However, by the end of her freshman year, her attitude toward figure skating had shifted. Taking a step away from the sport allowed me to understand myself because I'd never had the time before, the space to figure out who I was, she said. Taking a step away allowed me to see the full picture. That full picture included the realization that skating could be different, that she could be different if she returned on her own terms. There was a time where I wasn't confident in myself, or I didn't know I could step out of the lane, she reflected. That was up until I was 16 years old when I stepped away from the sport. That was my first out of the lane decision, and my authenticity just domino affected. So she decided to return, not because she felt pressure to be back on ice, hadn't finished business or something to prove to someone, and not as an obligation or an identity she had been assigned at age 5. She returned because, having lived without figure skating, she discovered that she wanted it. It was a choice of a mature, self-directed soul this time. Massimo Scali, one of her two coaches, saw profound changes in her return. I saw freedom and control, he said. I saw a woman who knew what she wanted and who was ready to step back into the arena with even more passion and joy than before. Alysa and her coaches started to deal with each other as independent equals. We share a very similar way of believing in skating and in life in general. We have the same values, the same sensitivity, and a deep respect for each other. The terms of her return reflected this fully. She chose the outfits and music for her performances by herself, ate what she wanted, and rested whenever she needed to. We know her well and understand that complete freedom is essential for her to achieve results. Not a single step is taken without her consent. She is a full partner in our team. A coaching relationship built on those terms is rare, and it's precisely that rarity that made the subsequent results so impressive. A tremendously important characteristic she brought this time was what she wanted to be known for: her creativity. I'm really big into fashion. I have my own sense of style for sure, she said. I have input in my figure skating dresses, and I want to share that creative process as well. She integrated her sense of self with her athletic pursuit. Figure skating became a pathway for her creative expression. The program packaging, the costumes, the choreography, all of it became a part of a unified creative vision that she herself authored. There needs to be more individuality, she said. People deserve the space to express themselves, and I'm glad that people are looking to me as inspiration to do that. After winning gold, she spoke about the Olympics with genuine excitement. She compares her two Olympic experiences as follows: I am grateful for both Olympic experiences, but I feel like I'm more gracious now because I have stuff that I want to share and I want to be here. And I think that's the difference from last time. This perspective connects to a broader truth about human achievement. Productive work at its best is not merely a means to external rewards. It is an expression of one's identity. Alysa started to skate with creativity, with individuality, and thus with joy. When asked afterwards how she felt on that ice, she replied, calm, happy, and confident. This attitude comes from a mindset that sees excellence and joy as naturally belonging together. When you enjoy doing something, you can excel at it, her second coach said. She can really show that you can do what you love, do it really well, and win the Olympics. Her victory showcases that joy is not an obstacle to achievement. It is not something to be suppressed in the service of accomplishments. It is the foundation upon which they are properly built. The result of this attitude was an athlete who could say before the biggest competition of her life, I don't need a medal. I just need to be here and show people what I can do. After winning gold, she elaborated. I don't need this, she said of the medal. What I needed was the stage, and I got that. So I was all good no matter what happens. A person who needs a medal is pursuing achievements as validation. So if it does not arrive, that person lives with nothing or with disappointment. A person who sees the stage as a place for self-expression, as an opportunity to do what she loves and to share it with others, is pursuing performance. The former orientation focuses solely on the outcome. The latter focuses on the joy that comes from the process. I'm okay if I do a failed program. I'm totally okay if I do a great program. No matter what the outcome is, it's still my story. She was there to do what she had mastered, to do it well, and to enjoy doing it. Everything else, the medals, the records, the historical significance, was secondary. Now, some might mistake this approach as an argument against struggle. It is not. Struggle is an essential part of a meaningful life because every meaningful thing you build requires it. Learning a skill is a struggle, building a relationship is a struggle, starting something from nothing is a struggle. What makes these struggles meaningful is an independently chosen direction. It can become destructive when a struggle becomes a permanent state that has lost its direction, but it's no longer in service of anything. When one stops asking, what is this difficulty moving me towards, and is this goal really what I want now? The struggle stops being productive and results in dissatisfaction with life rather than in a reward. Alysa articulated this herself. I love struggling actually, she said. It makes me feel alive. She did not return to skating believing she could avoid difficulty. She returned knowing that the difficulties were worth bearing because they were in service of her chosen values. They had a purpose she had authored herself. That is the only kind of struggle that produces not merely achievement, but fulfillment. When asked directly about Olympic pressure, Alysa's response was precise. You would have to explain what Olympic pressure is. Who is given? Who is the pressure? She understood that the Olympic pressure many athletes feel is no more than an individual interpretation, a meaning assigned to circumstances by minds that has decided that those circumstances are threatening. The circumstances themselves are not threatening. What transforms them into pressure is the athlete's decision to treat them that way. Alysa decided not to choose that path, grasping that all the external circumstances are not under her control. The orientation of her mind toward them is. This attitude allows her to fully enjoy what would otherwise have been such a stressful moment. What is there to lose? Every second you're there, you're gaining something, she said. There's nothing to be lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't think of anything that I would find stressful or anything that would bring me down. Yes, she looked fearless from the outside. But that fearlessness didn't appear from nowhere. It came from the clarity she obtained by reflecting on what she genuinely valued and what she expected to take from the Olympics. Having this attitude, Alysa is aware of the example she sets for others, particularly younger athletes who may feel trapped by expectations or unable to assert their own needs. It's doing stuff that people tell you shouldn't do, she said. I've been doing a lot of that. Her decision to step away from skating and return on her own terms exemplifies how athletes can take control of their own destinies in pressure-packed environments. In competitive sports, athletes are often shaped from childhood by coaches, parents, and national federations, and gradually by the weight of expectations they have internalized as their own. Alysa reclaimed authorship of her own life. It feels like I'm really just doing what I want to do and I'm more confident in myself. Self-confidence for Alysa wasn't instilled by external validation or winning the medal. It emerged from the experience of making her own choices and discovering that she could trust herself. Her advice is direct and uncompromising. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Stay on your own path, your own journey, and focus on yourself. She grasped that the proper foundation for consistent achievement requires an independently defined purpose of it. Alysa did not succeed by relinquishing control of her career. She succeeded because she took full control of it, and the self-made decision to leave, counterintuitively, made her return possible. Alysa showed that when you pursue what you have chosen by your independent judgment, excellence and joy follow naturally. The day after the victory, she reflected on the experience. I mean, it was just bliss. I was so happy to be there. I felt like I was floating, and I felt the crowd carried me. I did everything I wanted to do. Not everything she had to do, everything she wanted to do. When asked about the new costume she wore for her first skate, she joked with the lightness that characterized her entire Olympic experience. If I fell in every jump, I would still be wearing this dress. The dress, the performance, the momentum, all of that had value independent of the outcome for her. So she smiled when she stepped onto the ice, she smiles through her jumps, and then she skated to the ringside camera and let out a celebratory expletive. That was not performative joy for the cameras or the observers. That was genuine joy that she experienced because she chose her goal, achieved it, and loved it. And she would do it again, medal or no medal, because that is who she is. You can be the most productive person in the room and still feel empty. Here's why. Productive work, not labor in the general sense, not activity that just fills the hours, but consciously chosen, purposeful, productive work that embodies your identity, is one of the central axes around which one's self-esteem organizes itself. It is the road of a person's unlimited achievements, and it calls on some of the highest things a person has: creative ability, self-direction, and the refusal to live by one-size-fits-all ready scenarios. When you are doing the work you chose after identifying what you value and what you want to spend a considerable chunk of time on, the effort doesn't feel like a constant mental and physical drain. The difficulty doesn't feel like a punishment. Even the frustration has a different quality to it. You can stay in efforts longer, you can come back to it faster. And when it goes well, what you feel isn't just relief. It's a genuine joy that comes from the feeling of self-actualization. When the effort is individual and purposefully chosen, meaning it comes from your actual values and not from obligation or someone's right opinion that you haven't checked against your desires. It becomes more than a means to an outcome. It becomes a daily expression of who you are. And the pleasure that follows from it is not accidental. When you gain the value of accomplishing a genuinely yours goal, do the thing you have decided matters, you'll inadvertently experience joy. The felt confirmation that what you are doing is aligned with what you care about. And it is not a reward that arrives only after the work. It is the joy embodied by the process itself. Which means the inverse is also true. When the work is disconnected from your values, when it is being done out of fear, habit, pressure, or identity assigned to you by someone else, the emotional signal is completely the opposite. The effort drains you rather than energizes. The struggle stops having direction. What should be productive becomes exhausting. Not because you are weak or lazy, but because the effort is disconnected from yourself. What you are doing is not aligned with who you are. Here is a distinction that is easy to miss in all this. High achievements can be powered by two completely different motors. One is joy, the other is fear. An achievement drive powered by positive motivation, by the joy of self-expression, is fundamentally different from the one powered by fear. Fear of losing love, fear of disapproval, fear of running out of funds, fear of being inadequate by someone's metrics. Yes, both can produce impressive-looking results from the outside, but the internal experience is the opposite. The fear-driven path is self-compounding in the wrong direction. The sense of what counts as enough inflates, and because no external results can ever fully resolve an internal question about our own worth and self-actualization, the gap between effort and satisfaction keeps widening. You may become more accomplished from the outside and paradoxically more disconnected from yourself on the inside. Over years, that disconnection accumulates. The work continues, but the lasting joy does not come. The other path compounds differently. When the work is genuinely chosen, when it is an expression of your actual values, each achievement builds on itself in a way that deepens your joy from being yourself. You become more capable, more fluent in the thing you have decided to master. And because productive work is one of the primary means by which a person develops a genuine sense of self-efficacy, the more you do, the more you can and are motivated to do. It is an upward spiral, and joy from that feels not permanent or fleeting, but growing and fulfilling. When joy, not fear, is our motive is not to prove our worth, but to live to the fullest of our possibilities. Joy in work is not a temperament you either have or don't have. What Alysa's story illustrates in practice is the principle that joy and excellence belong naturally together. And this principle has a very specific shape. It is not love what you do and the excellence will follow, as if positive feelings were somehow a substitute for rigor, discipline, or high standards. Excellence happens when you have clearly identified not just what matters to you, but why it matters. The clarity drives you forward and keeps you in pursuit even in times of struggle and burnout. The admiration of your pursuit is the reason it doesn't destroy you, but pulls you back to your feet when you need it. When the work becomes obligation, when the goal was never really chosen, when the achievement matters only because someone else decided it should, the effort may produce something, maybe results, maybe even impressive ones for a while, but not the feeling Alysa described when she said it was bliss. Not the thing that makes the person get up the next morning and go again, not because they have to, but because they want to. She had a chosen purpose, she had returned to it on her own terms, from genuine desire, not obligation. She had integrated her full identity into the pursuit, so that what she was doing on that ice was not separate from who she was off it. When the work is its own point, when the doing of it done well by you in your way is what you showed up for, the outcomes become secondary. Not unimportant, secondary. Because the primary thing, the engagement, the expression, the achievement of something you value, happen regardless. That is what joy in work looks like. And the remarkable thing is, it is available to anyone willing to ask the right question. Not, am I good enough at this? But is this actually mine? That is the principle. Alysa just happened to live it on one of the biggest stages in the world.